Imagine knowing exactly what your body needs to age slower. Not magic, not expensive supplements. Just 5 simple movements that science keeps pointing to. Today, we are going to uncover those 5 daily movements that can help slow your biological age. And yes, scientists have finally explained why they work. If you're over 55 or even approaching that number, this is for you. Think about the things that truly matter. Getting up from a chair without help, walking without pain, climbing stairs with confidence. That is the real payoff of movement. The World Health Organization says people who are insufficiently active face a 20% to 30% higher risk of death. That is a staggering gap. But here's the good news. You do not need a gym membership or a perfect routine. You need to move the right way. Keep watching to discover what those 5 movements actually are.
But before we get to the movements, you need to understand a critical distinction. Most people confuse chronological age with biological age. Your chronological age is simply how many birthdays you have had. Your biological age tells a completely different story. It reflects how your cells, your DNA, and your body are actually functioning. Researchers now use something called epigenetic clocks to measure this. They look at DNA methylation patterns and telomere length to estimate how old your body truly is. And here is what the science is revealing. The people with the healthiest aging patterns are not necessarily the ones with the most expensive health care. They are the ones who move consistently in specific ways. That means the path to slowing biological aging may be far simpler than you have been led to believe.
So let us start with the first movement, and this one carries the strongest headline: brisk walking. A massive UK biobank study found that average and brisk walkers had longer leukocyte telomere length than slow walkers. The researchers even ran a Mendelian randomization analysis, which helped confirm that the effect likely runs from faster walking pace toward longer telomeres, not the other way around. In plain English, it is not only how much you walk, it is how briskly you walk. That is a game changer for viewers who thought they needed to log thousands of steps. The Leicester researchers emphasized that activity intensity matters more than total amount. Now, if you're wondering what brisk actually means, a 2025 PLOS-1 study on frail older adults found that increasing walking cadence by about 14 steps per minute above your usual pace was linked to clinically meaningful improvement in functional capacity. For many participants, that meant around 100 steps per minute.
But there is a hidden problem with walking that most people never address. You can walk for hours and still miss the point. If your pace is too slow, your body never reaches the intensity threshold where real biological benefits kick in. Think about it. Walking slowly burns fewer calories, yes, but it also fails to trigger the same cellular signaling pathways that faster movement activates. A study from the University of Chicago showed that even a modest increase in pace mattered for pre-frail and frail older adults. The key is not to walk until you're exhausted. The key is to walk just enough to challenge your current baseline. Ask yourself this: when was the last time you walked fast enough to feel your heart rate rise slightly? If you cannot remember, that might be exactly why you need to adjust.
Now let us talk about the second movement, and this one is instantly relatable. Sit to stand chair rises. Standing up from a chair is not just exercise, it is a real-world test of independence. The CDC explicitly lists standing from a sitting position as a balance activity. Johns Hopkins recommends this move because it builds leg strength, body mechanics, and balance. Here is how you do it. Use a sturdy chair that will not slide. Keep your feet flat on the floor. Lean your chest forward over your toes. Stand up slowly and sit back down with control. The Hopkins team suggests 10 repetitions. Many people need to use their hands at first. The goal is to gradually use less support if it is safe to do so. This is not famous because it is flashy. It is valuable because it trains the exact pattern you use every day. Getting out of bed, rising from the toilet, standing from the dinner table. That is why chair rises matter.
But here is something most people do not realize about falling. It is not just an accident, it is often the result of years of declining leg strength and balance that went completely untreated. The CDC says falls are the leading cause of injury for adults 65 and older. More than 14 million older Americans, roughly 1 in 4, report falling every single year. Once someone falls, the cycle of fear and reduced movement begins. They move less. Their muscles weaken further, their balance deteriorates, and the risk of another fall goes up. This is why chair rises are not optional. They are a critical defense. You need to think of them as daily insurance against a life-altering fall. Notice how the simple act of standing up from a chair requires coordination between your legs, your core, and your brain. That is why training this movement is training independence itself.
Movement number 3 is resistance-based strength training. This one deserves a central place in the conversation because age-related muscle and power loss are among the biggest drivers of frailty and loss of independence. The CDC recommends muscle strengthening activity on 2 or more days per week, working all major muscle groups. You can use weights or resistance bands, which makes this perfect for home use. There is also compelling biological evidence here. A 2024 study in the journal Biology found that regular strength training was strongly related to longer telomeres in a national U.S. sample of 4,814 adults. 90 minutes per week was associated with about 3.9 years less biological aging on average, measured by telomere length. Now, that is observational data, so we should not claim causation, but that is the kind of evidence that demands attention. The takeaway is simple: rows with a band, presses, leg pushes, carrying groceries. The science says older adults do not need bodybuilding. They need consistent muscle-preserving movement.
Yet there is a pervasive myth holding people back. Many adults over 55 believe that if they have not trained for decades, it is too late to build meaningful strength. The truth is far more encouraging. Muscle responds to resistance at every age. What changes is the recovery time, not the potential. Research shows that older adults who begin strength training often see measurable improvements in just 8 to 12 weeks. But here is the real concern. If you skip strength work and only walk, you are leaving a massive benefit on the table. Walking is excellent for cardiovascular health, but it does not fully compensate for the muscle loss that naturally occurs with age. Your legs need more than just movement. They need resistance, and that resistance is what keeps you strong enough to carry groceries, lift a suitcase, and rise from the floor if you stumble.
Movement number 4 is balance flow. Whether that is Tai Chi, yoga, or simple balance drills. A 2023 systematic review and meta-analysis in Frontiers in Public Health concluded that Tai Chi is effective for preventing falls and improving balance in older adults, whether they are healthy or already at high risk of falling. The effect actually improves with greater exercise time and frequency. In 2024, the USPSTF recommended exercise interventions to prevent falls in community-dwelling adults, 65 or older, at increased fall risk. That is a major endorsement. Balance work is not optional extra credit. It is core healthy aging training. Yoga fits here too. A 2023 review in the Annals of Internal Medicine found that yoga improved gait speed and lower extremity strength and endurance in older adults. If you want something gentler and more familiar, yoga is a strong choice. Imagine yourself moving through a sequence where every step trains your body to stay upright and confident.
But here is a question most people never ask. What happens to your balance when you sit for hours on end? The answer is not good. Prolonged sitting flattens your posture, stiffens your hips, and reduces the constant micro-adjustments your body makes to stay balanced. When you are seated for long periods, your balance muscles are essentially on vacation. And when you finally stand up, your brain has to recalibrate. That is why people who sit all day often feel unsteady when they rise. A 2024 JAMA Network Open study of more than 45,000 women found that sedentary behavior was associated with lower odds of healthy aging, even after accounting for formal exercise. Replacing just 1 hour of TV sitting with light activity was linked to better odds of healthy aging. So the message is clear. Balance is not only about the time you spend on your feet, it is also about how you treat the time you spend off them.
Which brings us to movement number 5, and this is the most underrated one. Frequent movement breaks instead of long sitting spells. The evidence here is compelling. That same 2024 JAMA Network Open study showed that light physical activity was associated with higher odds of healthy aging. And in a separate 2024 randomized clinical trial, a sitting reduction program cut sedentary time by a little over 30 minutes per day and lowered systolic blood pressure by about 3.5 millimeters of mercury over 6 months. The intervention used prompts for sitting breaks, a standing desk, and a fitness tracker. For a general audience, the message is honest. You do not need a perfect gym routine. You do need to stop being glued to the chair all day, stand during commercials, walk while talking on the phone, do a short lap through the house. The body seems to age better when movement is spread through the day, not crammed into one tiny window, followed by 10 more sedentary hours.
But here's where the pattern gets truly interesting. Most people think in terms of a single workout window, 30 minutes here, 45 minutes there, and then they sit for the rest of the day. But your body is not designed to move for 30 minutes and then go dormant for 12 hours. It is designed to move continuously in small bursts throughout the day. That is how our ancestors lived, and the data supports it. The sitting reduction trial showed that even small, frequent interruptions of sitting time produced measurable blood pressure improvements. Think about what that means for your daily routine. If you could add 5 minutes of movement 4 times a day, that is 20 minutes of extra activity without ever stepping into a gym. The question is not whether you have time. The question is whether you are willing to break the sitting habit.
Let us put this all together into something you can actually use. A strong evidence-aligned weekly template for anyone over 55 looks like this. Aim to build toward 150 minutes of moderate activity per week, such as brisk walking. Include muscle strengthening work on at least 2 days. Add balance practice regularly, and look for chances to move more throughout the day. If chronic conditions make the full target unrealistic, federal guidance says to be as physically active as your abilities and conditions allow. For brisk walking, measure your comfortable pace first, then nudge it slightly faster when safe. A metronome app can help you keep a steady cadence. For chair rises, sit toward the front of a sturdy chair, feet flat, lean the chest over your toes, and rise with control. For strength, challenge all major muscle groups with safe resistance. For balance, practice near a kitchen counter or in a corner. For sitting less, create prompts for standing and light movement. That is the full picture.
Now consider what experts are saying. Patty Dempsey at the University of Leicester noted that the walking pace study provided stronger evidence for a causal link between faster walking pace and longer telomere length. Daniel Rubin at the University of Chicago found that even a modest increase in pace mattered for pre-frail and frail older adults. Their practical conclusion was that casual walking helped, but those who could safely increase pace gained more. These are not extreme claims. These are careful, measured findings from researchers who have studied thousands of people. The message is consistent. You do not need punishing workout. You need the right movements done regularly at an intensity that challenges your current baseline. That is where the real anti-aging effect lives.
Here is the final takeaway. Movement is medicine even after 55. Intensity helps, but perfection is not required. Strength and balance matter just as much as walking. Sitting less is part of the intervention, not an afterthought. And the trustworthy claim is that these 5 movements are linked to slower aging, not guaranteed to reverse it. The science is clear. Walk briskly, keep your legs strong enough to rise from a chair, preserve muscle with resistance work, train balance on purpose, and interrupt long periods of sitting with light movement. Those patterns are linked to better biological aging markers, healthier hearts, better mobility, fewer falls, and better odds of aging well. Imagine yourself 6 months from now, moving with more confidence and less fear. That future starts with what you do today. Start with one movement, build from there. Your body is waiting to respond.